Alton Swan back in the saddle once again. It is the show that shakes the Southland. Clemson Sports Talk for you each and every afternoon as you make your way around the great state of South Carolina and beyond, listening to us on incredible radio stations like Fox Sports Radio 1400 in the Midlands and around the world on the iHeart Radio application. Thank you for being a part of the program this afternoon, and thank you for always taking in our show. Like, share, and subscribe. Tell your friends and neighbors and your friends' neighbors, and don't forget that right there below us, you can see it. Head over to our YouTube channel and subscribe today, tinyurl.com/Clemson Sports TV. That should do the trick. That'll get you there. And make sure you hit that subscribe. Ring that bell. Ring-a-ling-a-ling. Just in case we ever go live at an odd time. Not from 4 to 6. By the way, podcasted on the iHeartRadio app, etc., etc. Thank you again, though, for hanging out with us. I did get a message from the site that we use to stream the show saying, oh, your space is full. I mean, I got that like right before the show. That's why if you're catching the podcast edition of the program, you're like, Swanee, where was the intro that we love so much? Well, that's where it was. So, again, I am working to get that all squared away for you. So hopefully that won't take up any more of your time here today. 803-450-0086. Text line, phone line, 803-450-0086. All right, so Dabo Swinney's coaches show yesterday that came on at 8 o'clock turned into just a big news dump, apparently. We typically see these things from time to time, but this to me was pretty shocking because it was a loaded segment. We talked to Coach Swinney after the game on Saturday. No indication that there were any significant injuries. We got to talk to him on Sunday during his teleconference. No real significant injuries. Then last night on Monday during his coach's show, it came out that Dabo Swinney had an injury update for a significant player for your Clemson Tigers, Tyler Davis, interior defensive lineman. Davis, who was out in the COVID protocol earlier this year for Clemson's matchup against Georgia. Davis, who last season was often injured, turns out played that ball game on Saturday, a good portion of it, with a torn bicep. I mean, I like to think I can play sports through a little pain. A little knee, a little tweak, a little something, a little ankle. I'm not sure that a torn bicep tendon is one of the things that yours humbly could play through. But he did. And instead, after the game, they do the eval, they figure it out, and now with a torn bicep tendon, Clemson will be without one of their top-tier defensive linemen for 7 to 8 weeks, according to Dabo Swinney. And that, to me, is astounding. It's astounding that he played through the injury. It's certainly significant when it comes down to Clemson and this defensive group because he is one of those anchors. While I thought when he arrived at Clemson he would be a bit undersized, what you can't measure is a man's heart. And he is so similar to Grady Jarrett to me. Just a bowling ball, a wrecking ball, whatever you want to, whatever terminology you want to put on him. He's like a spark plug right in the middle of this Clemson Tiger defense. Now out for 7 to 8 weeks. Let me say that again because it sounded like I said 78. 7 to 8 weeks. That was big news. Then, just after that, another bombshell dropped. Lynn J. Dixon, we talked about this the other day. We actually had a segment over on our YouTube channel, if you're subscribed, where I said, what's going on with Lynn J. Dixon? And Lin Jay's situation this year at Clemson was certainly supposed to play out differently. I mean, I cannot imagine that Lin Jay Dixon, when the vacancy is presented of a guy like Travis Etienne leaving your program, that Lin Jay Dixon thought his final season in Tiger Town would entail essentially 10 attempts and 48 yards, averaging 4.8 yards per carry. We are talking about a player who 3 seasons ago on the road against Wake Forest looked as electric as Travis Etienne, in my opinion. Truly looked like he had a chance to be just a big-time playmaker for your Clemson Tigers. All of that, and again, if you keep up with our good buddy Tim Beret on social media, Tim joins us on Thursday afternoons, but Tim Beret tweeted this, and what was astounding about Travis Etienne was how good he was early in his career per carry. And I can remember we interviewed Tim Beret a couple of years ago, 3, maybe during Travis Etienne's second year on campus. And Tim said, mathematical principles, when it comes down to the yards per carry stat, are eventually going to catch up with a guy. Like, eventually it's going to catch up with him. And really, up until last season, and again, mathematically, Tim's right, it did finally catch up with Travis Etienne, but not terribly significant because his numbers the previous 3 seasons have been so good. Etienne averaged 7.2 yards per carry during his career. Again, Etienne went on to be the most productive running back in the history of the ACC. But Lin Jay Dixon racked up 1,420 rushing yards on 218 attempts in his career. That's a 6.5 yard average, second only to Travis Etienne in Clemson history. And again, for me, Lin Jay Dixon had the burst, had the speed, had the acceleration 2 and 3 years ago that we really didn't see last season because he was dealing with a knee injury a year ago. And at moments this year, it looked like he was going to be able to hold on to the top spot in the running back room. When he got opportunities, he made some plays against Georgia when Clemson couldn't move the ball. He came in, had a 10-yard rush, and you kind of like, okay, here's a spark. For lack of a better term, a change of pace. And you have him start against SC State, only to come out, and then finally get put back in later in the game. And then after the game, Dabo Swinney says, look, he just needs to grow up. He's been in Spiller's doghouse. And look, if you are a running back at Clemson and you fall into Lawton Swan's doghouse, people are going to go, well, who the heck is Lawton Swan? But when you fall into the doghouse of a now college Hall of Fame running back, and again, granted, should C.J. Spiller and Dabo Swinney and Tony Elliott, should those guys, does it come down to the player to adjust to the coach or the coach to adjust to the player? Probably yes, a little bit to both. But I think it is surprising that Lin Jay Dixon minus Travis Etienne didn't have more opportunities. But the thing we have learned, and I have learned following this program, is that Clemson is not afraid to give consequences to great players no matter how big the stakes. You think about what we talked about last week here on the show with Deion Kane being suspended from Clemson's first trip to the college football playoff. You've had other incidences under Dabo Swinney where, hey, you're playing a big matchup. Doesn't matter. Mike Bellamy, gone. Sammy Watkins, suspended. If you don't follow the rules, you're not going to last long at Clemson because the program is predicated off of something bigger than your ability to rush the football. The success of that program is bigger than, do you average 6.5 yards a carry? But I'd be lying to you if I said that after his, fourth game in a Clemson uniform, when he rushed 10 times for 163 yards, averaging 16.3 yards per carry. He also had a game against Louisville, a 77-16 win where he had 4 carries for 116 yards. That's 29 yards a clip average, where I thought, man, when the torch gets passed, I feel like I should go into like a bad John Kennedy here. When the torch is passed to the next generation of great running backs, you would have thought this would have been Lin J. 5-star Will Shipley comes in, conversations about him all offseason, but you would have believed this still would have been Lin J. But what we saw over the first few weeks of the season is that Lin J, for whatever reason, had run things a little sideways with CJ Spiller. Now, he will stay in school. He's going to finish up. He's going to graduate. So when he said he's proud of him for that, he'll finish up in December. He'll get his name in that transfer portal. He'll pop up somewhere else. The other thing you got to remember is now for Clemson, and if you go read the article over on ClemsonSportsTalk.com, which, by the way, shout out to everybody who checked that article out. And if you don't have our text alerts turned on for our website, go over there and get registered today. And if you would love to support us, $63.17 backs our program, backs everything we do, the website, premium content, everything. The most digital content covering your Tigers, ClemsonSportsTalk.com. Built in, you won't believe. Like if you think you're going over there and this is some kind of Wix or some kind of whoever does websites these days, you think it's that, is not. Go check it out. Like the Nature Boy Ric Flair says, woo! Custom made from head to toe. Go check it out. ClemsonSportsTalk.com. And if you like it, support us. And Gamecocks love it when you tell them that it costs $63.17. Again, shout out to all the Gamecocks out there today hanging out with us here on the program. You know how much we appreciate you guys peeking over the fence.
So you can continue to peek over the fence at the best radio show in the nation.
Let's go. Clemson in the backdrop. So to imagine that this year for Lin J. Dixon would play out the way it has is truly shocking at this point. But Dabo Swinney said about a week ago that Clemson was going to try to do what they could to redshirt Phil Maffa, to hold Maffa. And it made a lot of sense to hold Maffa when you had Shipley, Pace, Lin J, Mikey Dukes, Darian Rencher. When you had those 5 guys in front of him, I think you could comfortably say, all right, we're just gonna do this. We're gonna make it happen. Swinney said yesterday that is still going to be the intent, to redshirt Phil Maffa. But this is a tough game. And it's a game where targeting is clearly awful, but it's a tough game. And so to believe that Will Shipley or Kobe Pace don't get banged up and that you don't eventually work your way down to Maffa is hard for me to imagine. The positive is you get 4 games. And Clemson's heading into their 4th game of the year, which means at this point, the need or utilization of Phil Maffa, if Clemson can get through this weekend's matchup without having to put him in there, they'll have 8 games remaining in the regular season. Half of them Maffa would technically be available for. I mean, that's the bright side here of losing a guy like Lynn J. Dixon, is that with this freshman redshirt rule, you can technically play Maffa without burning his year. But if you play him over the next 4 weeks, then you have to go the remaining 4 weeks of the regular season without him and potentially into the postseason if you're fortunate enough to get there. Again, you want to talk about it, give us your thoughts on Lynn J. Dixon, you can call right now, 803-450-0086, 803-450-0086. That is a text line. That is a phone line as well. Bada boom, we put it up in the room. Go check it out. If you are watching the show live, like the Honey King of the Upstate, my man Kyle, who is in the house today, that's how you call the show. Leave us a message. Tell us your name. If we like it, we'll play it back. If we don't like it, it doesn't mean, or if we don't play your message, it doesn't mean we don't like it. Sometimes we just get so many, I don't know what to do with them. Kyle says, Swanee, where's the hat? Dude, I dropped it in the background right there. I was like, you know what? I got all the Clemson footballs lighting up. Let's put the hat back there in the backdrop when I'm not wearing it. It is, I mean, if you're looking, man, it's time for, tonight's the night. Gonna hit the razor. Like Phil Collins. I can feel it coming in the air tonight. Yeah. The razor. Gonna get after it tonight. This is out of control. I can't even pinch it, but it's out of control. I look like I'm disheveled, folks. Swanee is disheveled. Look at his hair. All right, let's see what else is going on as we got a lot of people hanging out with us today. Again, go hit that subscribe button. Coming up in hour number 2, Mike Uva, who covers the South Carolina Gamecocks, Clemson Tigers college football for our folks over at Watch Fox 57. He will be joining the program. Plus, Matt Dowell. Congratulations, my man, Matt. He's the new sports director over there at Watch Fox 57. Used to do the Clemson show with Matt years ago. Dude, Matt, now that you're the director, fire that thing back up. Your boy Swanee, I'm going to have the head shaved. I'm going to be rocking and rolling and ready to go. The bald beauty on the air is back. The BMO TV, the bald man on TV, I am here. Let's do it, Matt. Let's bring back the energy and the tempo. Let's get the hurry up, no huddle going. I'll be your guy. Linda's in the house. What's going on, Linda? Glad to have you hanging out here. And again, hit that subscribe button. Now, we will hear from Dabo Swinney coming up in just a little bit, so you want to make sure that you are available for those conversations. Plus, again, Tony Elliott yesterday, after meeting with the media, or when he met with the media, saying that, look, man, the backup quarterback and the backup offensive coordinator, that's who everybody likes. And, he's right. Like, when you're struggling the way Clemson's struggling and their productivity is down, there is no denying that fact. Statistically in the league, I mean, it's just bad. But I do not believe that this team isn't good enough to flip the switch, right the ship, and end up being a playoff performance, being a playoff team. And I think their matchup against Georgia was indicative of that fact alone. 803-450-0086. When we get back, we'll hear some of Dabo Swinney's comments next.
Now, Columbia's most dependable traffic, sponsored by Pope Davis Tire and Automotive, home of the best tire prices in Columbia, guaranteed. Fox Sports Radio 1400 traffic.
A look at traffic shows a wreck on Clemson Road at I-20, also an accident Highway 6 at Platte Springs Road. The 103.5 FM WVOC traffic tip line number is 343-1055.
This report is sponsored by South Carolina Education Lottery. The Mega Millions jackpot for Tuesday is $432 million. Be sure to stop by your local South Carolina Education Lottery retailer and get your ticket today. See SCEducationLottery.com for jackpot odds in a store near you.
iHeartRadio brings you Global Citizen Live, a moment heard around the world. This Saturday, the biggest artists on the planet unite with world leaders to demand action on our biggest challenges, featuring BTS, Usher, Elton John, Black Eyed Peas, Ed Sheeran, Lizzo, Shawn Mendes, Jennifer Lopez, Coldplay, and other surprise guests. Join us for this once-in-a-generation moment to defend the planet and defeat poverty. Together, we can move the world one action at a time. Hear it all day this Saturday on Global Citizen Radio with the iHeartRadio app.
Imagine a disease that can hurt any part of your body, like your joints, heart, kidneys. Your immune system becomes so hyperactive that it attacks instead of protects. That's lupus. You don't look sick, so no one knows you feel awful. You also may know someone who has it. Join us for Lupus Research Alliance's virtual Many One Can. Walk with us to cure lupus, October 2nd at noon. No one can cure it alone, but many one can. Visit walk.lupusresearch.org to register now.
Group training is a fun, accountable way to get in shape. I'm Coach Stewart of Dynamic Health and Fitness. Come train with one of our special groups today. We will focus on giving you the support you need to get in shape. We use the Dynamic Mob, featuring intervals of cardio, functional training, and strength training to change your lifestyle to make you healthy. Get started today at any of our locations in Lexington or West Columbia, or call 803-408-4060 or online at dynamichealthclub.com.
The IRS is ramping up collection, and if you owe back taxes or have years of unfiled tax returns, listen carefully. Before it's too late, check your eligibility for the Fresh Start program still offered by the IRS to reduce or even eliminate your tax problems. Call our special hotline number now and find out in minutes if you qualify for these life-changing debt reduction programs. Business or personal, if you're in a payment plan with no end in sight, have unfiled tax returns, under audit, have a wage or bank levy, or finally just want to know your options, call the experts at Republic Tax Relief and stop collections immediately. A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau with a 5-star rating from Yelp, this veteran-owned company has the fight you need to take on the IRS. Don't go at it alone. Call their hotline number now, 800-781-3626. That's 800-781-3626. Find out if you qualify today. Call 800-781-3626 or go to republictaxrelief.com.
For victims of drunk and drug driving, our grief is unique, but you are not alone. MAD is here to help. Call our 24-hour victim helpline at 877-MAD-HELP or visit mad.org. That's MADD.org.
Hi, we're the Goo Goo Dolls. We're fortunate that our daughters have what they need to grow and learn. But that isn't the case for nearly 13 million kids in the U.S. that struggle with hunger.
Childhood hunger is a heartbreaking reality that Feeding America is working to change. Each year, the Feeding America network of food banks rescues billions of pounds of good food that would have gone to waste and provides it to families and children in need.
You can help kids in need in your community by visiting feedingamerica.org.
Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Now, back to Clemson Sports Talk with Lawton Swan on Columbia's home for the 2018 National Championship Tigers, Fox Sports Radio 1400.
The QOTD, the question of the day. What are your thoughts on the Lynn J. Dixon situation? Again, Lynn J. hitting the transfer portal. It feels a lot like, you know what it feels a lot like at this point, Tavian Feaster. Because Tavian Feaster coming in was, you know, really set to be maybe the big dog, you know, maybe certainly going to have an impact on Clemson's offense, and then looks around and you got Travis Etienne just doing this thing, and it's like, all right, you know what? I'm going to head on to South Carolina. And it was like such a shock because you'd seen him in the spring. And I mean, that was the thing, like Lynn J. We even did an article on Lynn J. Dixon talking about that, about how, you know, he was embracing this role and stepping into it. And this is a guy that's on the Doak Walker watch list, a guy that truly had a chance, I think, this season to be special. We did an article called Lynn J. Dixon has a, quote, different look in his eye. I mean, on and on and on again throughout his career, yes, he was in the shadow of Travis Etienne, but this was an opportunity. And perhaps the fact that you had a couple of young guys come in that were getting the bulk of the carries and the attention, it just was too much. But I think everybody who's been around Lynn J and spent any amount of time talking with him hates to hear this because he really did seem like such a nice kid. Did he have his issues at Clemson? Apparently so. Was it worth keeping him around? Apparently not. Again, Dabo Swinney earlier today met with the media to talk about not only Lynn J. Dixon, but also the Tigers' upcoming matchup against NC State. Again, I know that it is going to be a tough ball game for the Tigers, just given the way they have played as of late. And that, I think, is probably one of the more difficult reasons to analyze this game. Like, I know on paper Clemson's the better team, but they have not played like it. And if one team like Georgia Tech can come in and give you a look you haven't seen, and you struggle the way Clemson did, what does that say about you? And I saw a tweet on social media. One of the things, well, obviously, if it was a tweet, it was on social media, but I saw a tweet that said, what if Vandy came out and ran a scheme Alabama had never seen before or had never prepared for? How would that game turn out? That was from Tiger Poppy TX. It's a valid reason to be disappointed with what you saw on Saturday. And part of the reason that I kept trying to dig in on, what were the adjustments? How did that work? Because I am with Tiger Poppy TX. I think Alabama would hammer Vanderbilt if Vanderbilt came out and gave them a look that had never been utilized in the history of college football. What's that old saying? You got to take his'n and beat urine, and sometimes you got to take urine and beat his'n. And it shouldn't matter what kind of scheme somebody's running if you are the better team. If you're the better team. Here's Dabo Swinney's opening comments earlier today up in Tigertown.
Going on the road, it's a very good NC State team, very good team, complete. This is got to be one of the most experienced teams in the country for sure. A ton of guys that have played a lot of ball on both sides of the ball. 9 of 11 back on offense, had 10 of 11 back on defense. Now 8 of 11. It's a couple guys getting hurt. Guys have again, a few guys have transferred in that were starters as well. So lots of experience with this team. They're incredibly well coached. They play hard, play tough, play smart, and they're 2-1. Mississippi State was a tough game for them. They opening kickoff return for a touchdown, and then NC State had 3 turnovers. So otherwise, that's a tight game. They gave up 17 points, not counting the kick return. So this is a really, really good team. Offensively, the quarterback is a baller. He's a very good player. He's an excellent thrower. He's athletic. He moves around. He can run well. And again, just really understands their scheme. They're incredibly committed to what they do. With their stretch play and the misdirection, the screens, running back passing game, formations, boots and throwbacks and shots down the field to those big, tall receivers. 4 starters back in the offensive line. They're very good up front, very physical, and a very physical run game. That's where it all starts for them. I think the OL's got like 100 starts between them, so it's a very smart, cohesive group. And the receivers are very good players. 88 is outstanding. 5 is a great slot for them. 86 is an excellent player as well. So just a really good group. 2 great running backs.
Dabo Swinney there, sort of previewing the NC State Wolfpack again. Clemson will face off against the Wolfpack on Saturday, and you got to imagine that head coach Dave Doran can smell a little bit of blood in the water. He can see that Clemson right now is a wounded animal. Even given the fact that they survive and won, there's still just so many questions around this team that it's hard not to imagine that the folks in Raleigh who are anxious anxious to knock off your Clemson Tigers aren't just downright giddy about the prospects of catching this Clemson team that's just not playing well. I mean, there's honestly, there's no other way to slice it up. They are talented, but they are not playing well. Again, some comments from Dabo Swinney. I mean, Clemson has won 8 consecutive games in this series against NC State. These two, because of COVID-19 and the way that set up the schedule, didn't play each other a year ago, which is very unusual. Obviously, I don't know how far back we'd have to go in the annals of college football to give you the last time that those two teams didn't play against each other. I didn't look at the notes yet from that matchup, but I'm sure I can catch it and give it to you during the break. I know for a fact that I can give you that. But again, I know that this is a program that wants to beat Clemson, and they are anxious for this game on Saturday.
Special people make the Midlands a special place to live. They're the CEOs who make our businesses thrive. Find out who they are as we showcase CEOs you should know. Every Tuesday and Saturday morning between 7 and 8 on iHeartRadio.
Hi, I'm Alicia Kaufman-Quinton. My daddy, Billy Kaufman, opened Kaufman's Meat Plant at our present location in 1955. My family still works hard every day to ensure fresh quality cuts of beef, pork, and poultry. How about a tasty T-bone, ribeye, or New York strip steak? To order at Kaufman's Meat Place. Just look for the signs near the intersection of US 1 and I-20 in Lexington. Call us at 356-0076 to place your order. Kaufman's Meat Place, when you want the very best your money can buy.
Radio advertising can connect your business with holiday shoppers wherever they go. Use iHeart Ad Builder to create an affordable custom radio ad right on your phone. Just click, listen, approve, then hear it on the radio. Create your customized ad today at iHeartAdBuilder.com.
How do you take your pregame up a notch? Book former Carolina player Bill Goss and his son Will at Billy G's Carolina Barbecue to cater your event. Nominated Best Caterer in Columbia, Billy G's Carolina Barbecue brings their A game. Barbecue, oyster roast, wedding receptions, corporate events, and of course, tailgate parties. And they have a food truck for those special events. Call 256-2694 to book your next event. That's 256-2694. Billy G's Carolina Barbecue, South Carolina's #1 team for barbecue.
It's fall, y'all. Stay cool with this Wilson'sAir.com weather update.
Well, a rather gloomy final day of summer. Showers, scattered thunder showers as well, and lots of clouds. 80 degrees for a high. For ABC Columbia, Channel 25, I'm Tyler Ryan.
This report is sponsored by Lowe's Foods.
We did it. The Buy Low at 120 Forum Drive is now a full-fledged brand spanking chicken clucking brisket rubbing veggie chopping draft pouring new Lowe's Foods. The grand opening of your local Lowe's Foods is here. Get excited.
It may be hard to believe, but people just like you are already saving money. FeedThePig.org makes it easy. Their simple savings plan teaches you how to start saving without going overboard. So you don't need to ditch the car and start rollerblading to work.
I look ridiculous.
You look ridiculous!
You don't need to start foraging wild berries.
I was skeptical, but these are actually pretty good.
You don't need to sell your organs on the black market.
Lie back. This is gonna hurt.
Yeah, that hurts. You don't need to rent out your apartment to drifters.
I made a fire with the wood in your bedroom.
That's my dresser!
And your closet door.
You just need an internet connection. Don't get left behind. Start your personal savings plan with the tips and tools on feedthepig.org. That way, you don't need to sell all your belongings and live in a commune.
These dungarees belong to all of us now, Tom.
Brought to you by the American Institute of CPAs and the Ad Council.
Jill, why don't you tell the class what you did this weekend?
Well, my dad and I went in search of some magical minnows and found a zillion of them in the stream from our lookout rock. Then my sister and I escaped from an evil slug king and went back to my super twig fort for safety. Then we told stories till it got dark, and the Big Dipper led us all the way home.
Wow. Where were you, Jill?
We went to the forest. It's not that far away.
Ask your parents to take you and your friends to the forest this week. It's closer than you think. Check out discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
We need you to help the Federation Center of the Blind continue its life-changing mission of opening more doors to blind South Carolinians. Please call us at 803-254-3777 or email nfbsc@sc.rr.com to see how you can volunteer or make a donation.
Want to hit a home run with your smart speaker? Alexa, play Fox Sports Radio 1400 on iHeartRadio.
That sounds like a pretty good choice to me.
Clemson Sports Talk a Tuesday, a Talking Tuesday. Dabo Swinney up in the upstate. Of course, today also Shane Beamer in the Midlands. You won't get Shane Beamer here. You can get on my buddy Rob Sanders' program, The Rundown, before we come on the air. He'll also give you a little Dabo Swinney as well. But again, just kind of getting into some of the ins and the outs of what Coach Swinney had to say. And yesterday, Matt Bockhorst was fired up. We'll get to what Coach Swinney thought about Matt Bockhorst's comments and some of the things that he said as well. And again, you know, this Clemson Tiger team, I mentioned Tyler Davis's injury taking place at some point in the ballgame. Swinney didn't elaborate when or that he really even knew. He essentially said, hey, you probably have to ask Tyler Davis. But here's what Coach Swinney had to say about the interior defensive lineman.
Tyler Davis had surgery this morning. So keep him in your thoughts and prayers. It's a big loss for us. Man, he was playing great football. What an incredible effort from him in this past game, and just super proud of him, and look forward to getting him back. Know he'll come back better than ever. So next guy up, Rook's he's been there. He played well for us to this point, and so we're very fortunate that we got some other guys there that have gotten some experience in these first 3 games and have played well. So excited about his opportunity.
Dabo Swinney was also asked about the interior of that defensive line and the depth there and what they're working on, including Trey Williams, who's been a little bit banged up. But here's what Swinney had to say about that as well. By the way, I really like Trey Williams. I think he's got a chance to be a very good player for Clemson. But here's Swinney elaborating on the situation on that interior of the defensive line.
Yeah, he's been banged up all year, but he's been banged up since camp. But he's not missed a beat. He's played well. I thought the Georgia game, he was very active. He had the most mistakes, but really his first time really playing. And but he bounced back. He played better against South Carolina State, and then showed up again last week. So he's getting better and better. But he's a presence. He's a very athletic kid. He's tough. He's been playing banged up all year and just battles through. He's done a good job for us, and obviously Rook has played well, and I think ET's starting to make a little progress. He's a guy too that's out all last year. And he didn't start playing football till his junior year, but has missed a lot of time around here from an injury standpoint. But he's starting to show some life a little bit. So he's a very active kid that we're going to have to get something out of. Darnell is incredibly consistent for us. He understands our scheme. He's not he can get sometimes you got to be careful with some matchups with him size wise, but he's very functional, fundamentally sound player, knows the scheme. And then Peyton Page, Peyton Page is a young guy that's learning, big presence, different type of player, but he's a load in there. And so, we got a good group, and we're fortunate with that, but we're definitely going to miss TD for sure.
Now, one of the other things, too, with Dabo Swinney talking there, and again, thinking about Tyler Davis, that, you hear him talk about Etanisa Rubin, ET, but I do think that it's so unfortunate when you have a guy like Tyler Davis who's really good, but just is constantly hurt. And I mean, there's just some players that go through their whole career without really anything ever hampering them. And then you got another guy like this where he just seems to be banged up constantly. And I think if you were, want to say a positive on this front is the odds that Tyler Davis returns for another year, if he misses 7 or 8 games this season, are probably pretty good. They may have been good previously, but now it feels like they would be really, really good. Again, you can hit us up, message us, be a part of the show. 803-450-0086, 803-450-0086. Now, Swinney was also asked about Matt Bockhorst's comments. He was fired up, said he wasn't here to make friends, wants to see people held accountable when they don't do their jobs. Again, we spoke with Matt Bockhorst at the ACC kickoff, just a phenomenal young man. But here's what Swinney had to say about Bockhorst's comments and, what you should take away from that.
Well, I mean, that's the way it is. I mean, he's an incredibly committed guy. He knows what it looks like. He's been around here a long time. He's been on a bunch of great teams, and he knows the type of execution you have to have. And we got, and the good news is we're getting. If we weren't getting the type of effort, that'd be a different deal. I mean, I'd have a different mentality, but that's not the case. We've got great kids that are working their tail off, practicing their tail off. We've got some inexperience in some spots, and that's just, and a couple guys that, and we've had some weird, it's just been a weird deal. And last week was an incredibly, strange challenge, kind of ambushed a little bit, but we found a way. And when you got young players that are very inexperienced, next thing you know, if you're not sure, then what goes out the window is your fundamentals, your technique, Now the effort is very good, but for us, it's preparing with purpose, and our guys are doing that. I mean, we're having great. I mean, at some point we're going to take the practice to the game day, and these guys are preparing with purpose. There's no doubt about that. And when you do that, then you're doing a good job with details. And then it's, you got to have commitment to be and do your best. Our guys are committed. We got a very committed group of guys. We have great leadership on this team. This is an easy team to come to work with every day. And then you have great effort, but it's effort with technique is what leads to execution.
There you go. Effort with technique is what leads to execution, according to Coach Dabo Swinney. Again, we'll have all of this audio up on our website, ClemsonSportsTalk.com. And it really is astounding, I think, and part of the reason that Clemson Tiger fans feel like they're in such a spiral right now or in the doldrums because the offense has been so poor, especially against Power 5 teams. But effort with technique is what leads to execution. Clemson's getting a lot of effort. Technique's been off. Can they right the ship this weekend against NC State? That'll be the big question. Stay with us.
It's time to get your home insanely clean. Listen, Zero Res cleans like no other. No harsh chemicals and no sticky, soapy residue is left behind. And right now, get 3 rooms of carpet cleaned for $119. Plus, when you mention this station, you'll get a hallway cleaned for free. Schedule online at ZeroResColumbia.com.
The Outlaws Championship Rodeo is back at the Antioch Community Center in Camden this Friday and Saturday. Outlaws Championship Rodeo with bull riding, cowgirls, barrel racing, steer wrestling, and more. Tickets available at the event. Kids under 5 get in free. More info under contests. 97.5 WCOS.com.
Fall is a season that's a little in the middle. It's sort of the best of 2 seasons. It's no longer a sweaty summer, but the winter chill is still around the corner. And that's the perfect time to feed and seed your lawn with Scott's Turf Builder. Even better than spring, because the soil is still warm, but the air is getting cool. So your lawn gets the most nutrients in the best combination of temperatures. Feed and seed now with Scott's Turf Builder and build the best lawn for every season. Scott's, it's good out here.
The new year can often bring big changes, some great and some unpleasant. If you're facing a divorce, consult the full-service legal team at Masella Law. Attorney Robert Masella has over 2 decades of experience fighting to protect his clients' assets and making sure that every detail of their divorce is handled carefully. Don't get overwhelmed by the legalities. Get in touch with Masella Law and get started towards your future.
748-9990. Give us a call or just log on MasellaLaw.com.
At Firehouse Subs, we make our subs differently because our subs can make a difference. And now it's never been easier to grab our subs to go for you or your whole crew. With Firehouse Subs Rapid Rescue to Go, you can save time when you order online at firehousesubs.com or on our app. And we'll have your subs boxed, bagged, and ready for pickup at our designated to-go areas. No lines, no waiting. Just more big, bold, craveable subs that help save lives. Firehouse Subs. Enjoy more subs. Save more lives.
Hi, we're the Goo Goo Dolls. We're fortunate that we can give our daughters everything they need to grow and learn. But not every child can focus on classes and play dates.
Nearly 13 million kids in the U.S. face hunger. That's 1 in 6. School lunch might be their only meal each day, and it's heartbreaking to imagine any child going to bed hungry. We're dreaming of a perfect day when kids can smile, play, and just be kids without worrying about where their next meal will come from. Feeding America is working to make that perfect day a reality.
Each year, the Feeding America network of food banks rescues billions of pounds of good food that would have gone to waste. That food is given to families and children in need. Being a kid should be about doing things that make an ordinary day extraordinary. Learning to play an instrument, building a sandcastle, hosting tea parties. Hunger should never be an obstacle to growing up.
You can help end childhood hunger in your community by visiting feedingamerica.org.
Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
I'm Aditi Kinkabwala.
And I'm Mike Yam.
We love football so much, we figured let's start a podcast and call it NFL Explained, where we just answer all the crazy questions we get about football all the time.
Like how the Buffalo Bills got their name, or who even came up with the Sky Camp, because that is actually a really cool idea.
Answers to questions like that and more every Thursday. Come join us for the NFL Explained podcast.
You can listen to NFL Explained on the iHeartRadio app or wherever you get your podcasts.
Mothers Against Drunk Driving supports victims of drunk driving, drug driving, and underage drinking at no charge. Call our 24-hour victim helpline at 877-MAD-HELP or visit mad.org. That's MADD.org.
Fox Sports Radio 1400. Online at foxsportsradio1400.com. On your phone with the iHeartRadio app and on hundreds of devices like Alexa, Google Home, Xbox, and Sonos. An iHeartRadio station.
All right, we'll get back to some Dabo Swinney in just a little bit. Again, thank you for being a part of the show that shakes the Southland Clemson Sports Talk. That's our website as well. Put the .com on it. Doggone it. Also, ClemsonRadio.com. There we go. All right, so Clemson again. Road matchup, NC State. No doubt about it. I see a chat. Let's see. Somebody in the chat said when Clemson and NC State last missed a game. I think it said 1956. Corey said Clemson has played State every year since 56, except for last year. What's weird, Corey, is that when I look back, it looks like 1969 and 70, for some reason, they didn't play. In 1968, Clemson won 24-19. And then in 1971, Clemson won 31-23. The mystery that I have is why were those two games not played? 58, 58, 59, 61. So I don't know if it's a miscalculation on this site I'm on or what. But I'll take your word for it. The teams have met 85 times with Clemson leading 57-28 with no ties. 57 wins, 28 losses with no ties. I would be interested about that one game and why that's not on there. Maybe I'll ask Tim Beret, or maybe I can dig in a little bit after the show. I hate to try to dig in here on the radio. Played consecutive contests in the series in Raleigh for the first time since 1951 and 1956 because of the pandemic. Again, they wouldn't be, quote, consecutive, but consecutive contests, right? That's going to be the bad thing. Like, I think when we look back on these streaks that were broken during COVID-19, I mean, what a pain. What a pain. Clemson and South Carolina. 803-450-0086. Again, our question of the day. What are your thoughts on the Lynn J. Dixon situation? Dixon out. Going to graduate. Going to transfer. Hitting the portal. And, this is the new era, if you will, that you have to deal with, because in the old days, a guy like Lynn J. Dixon would have finished up this year. There would have been no other recourse. You couldn't just, I guess technically for him with the COVID year, yes, but this is what the transfer portal will continue to do to this game, is allow players who aren't happy for whatever reason, playing time, whatever reason they're in the doghouse, it will allow them to go somewhere else. And if you do it before the fourth game, or before the fifth game, technically, no repercussions. You don't lose that year. You get it back. Again, I'm all about the free-flowing movement of players. I get the concept. But, man, does it make this a different sport. It really makes this a different sport. All right, let's see if you all have any comments on the Lynn J. Dixon situation. Again, we'll hear some more from Dabo Swinney coming up in hour number 2, the Stinky edition. The Stinky edition, if you will. Not because I am stinky, but because Dabo Swinney essentially said, hey, look, I can assure you we don't stink. So far, it's been a little stinky. But I get it. The Georgia game was against the top-tier team. The SC State game, you can't really measure much. And then Georgia Tech just surprises you. And that, for me, is probably the most – it's got to be one of the most difficult things Dabo Swinney's had to stand in front of the microphone and say to you at home. Essentially, we got out-coached. That's the word you should hear. We got out-coached. And the other sentence in that paragraph is, we had no answers. None. Just did enough to win. Philip says, Swanee, it's either sink or swim this weekend. You're right about that, Philip. It really is. And I'm going to tell you, NC State's going to be ready because I think they recognize what's sitting in front of them. Clemson is a team that at this point has been so dominant in the league that if somebody else can figure out a way to get a grip on first place in the Atlantic, you might can just shield Clemson off. You might be able to shield the Tigers off because you'd have to lose twice. NC State yet to play an ACC game, remaining games against Boston College on the road with Jurkovec out. At Miami, Louisville, at Florida State, at Wake Forest, Syracuse, and North Carolina. You start to look at a couple of games there that they'd have to be worried about if they do beat Clemson. At Miami, and maybe versus North Carolina. But you can't bank on Florida State bailing you out this year. They're awful. You can't bank on Louisville. I mean, listen, Syracuse is bad. If you lose this game this weekend, if you're Clemson, you need a lot of help. NC State's going to have to hurt themselves. And that's why they're going to be geared up for this one, because it's the first time in a long time that a team really legitimately has a chance to put Clemson behind the 8 ball. Hour 2, Mike Uva joins us. Stay with us.
Clemson Sports Talk with Lawton Swan on Columbia's home for sports. Fox Sports Radio 1400. Now, Columbia's most dependable traffic, sponsored by Pope Davis Tire and Automotive, home of the best tire prices in Columbia, guaranteed. Fox Sports Radio 1400 traffic.
A look at traffic shows a wreck on Clemson Road at I-20, also an accident Highway 6 at Platte Springs Road. The 103.5 FM WVOC traffic tip line number is 343-1055.
This report is sponsored by Northern Tool and Equipment. Looking for serious horsepower for your tough jobs? Get to Northern Tool. Monday through Saturday, they're now open at 7 a.m. to serve you better. Kickstart your workday with them and get more done. Northern Tool and Equipment. Quality tools for serious work.
iHeartRadio Earth is here with little tips for a healthier planet. This spring, you can share your own observations about nature with scientists and play a critical role in scientific discovery by adding to their data collection. Discover more about citizen science programs such as monitoring weather, observing plants and animals, and more. Brought to you by iHeartRadio Earth and the National Environmental Education Foundation. To find more tips for smarter, sustainable living, or to take action in your own community, go to iHeartRadio.com/Earth.
By popular demand, Great Southern Homes now lists their coming soon communities online. Whether you're looking for a new home in your hometown, moving to a new town, or just want your pick of choice lots, this is the place to start. Great Southern Homes invites you to put the wow in your new home with options and upgrades. Live green, live smart in your new green smart home. Show your style and personalize your new home with options and upgrades from Great Southern Homes. Find your dream home today, GreatSouthernHomes.com.
Guys, now there's no excuse. Peak Performance for Men has helped thousands of men overcome erectile dysfunction. The question is,